And the Obama administration's move to delay action on a contested oil pipeline until after the election. Ray Suarez has the story.
The question is, should the president approve a major extension of the Keystone XL pipeline? It's a debate that divides business, environmental groups, and labor unions. The pipeline would carry oil more than 1,700 miles from the tar sands of Canada to Port Arthur in the U.S. Gulf Coast, passing through half a dozen states along the way. In one, Nebraska, there was significant opposition to the plan. This afternoon, the State Department said it was concerned about the Nebraska part of the route and said finding and reviewing an alternate path could take until 2013. The president backed the delay, saying we should take the time to ensure that all questions are properly addressed and all the potential impacts are properly understood. For more, I'm joined by Juliet Alprin of The Washington Post. Juliet, what did the State Department tell the pipeline developers to do, and what reason did they give?
What they said is actually that they would re-examine other routes within just Nebraska, and that TransCanada, which is the company that's sponsoring this pipeline, would of course have to sketch out how that could be done. And then they would examine whether it could protect a particular region known as the Sandhills region within Nebraska, which is where you've seen intense opposition over this project.
It's unusual to have the U.S. State Department making pronouncements on Nebraska, isn't it? Why is the State Department ruling on a pipeline that runs for almost its entire length through the United States?
Interestingly, the reason they have jurisdiction is simply because it's a pipeline that crosses the U.S.-Canada border. That makes it something that comes under the purview of the State Department and not other agencies like the Department of Transportation, which has an agency which traditionally looks at pipelines and how they're handled and constructed.
Does redrawing the path of the pipeline mean, in effect, starting from scratch, really going back to the drawing board on this?
It doesn't mean starting from scratch, but it certainly raises questions about the economic viability of a project that's been under scrutiny for more than 3 years, and now we're adding at least 15 months to this decision. So it raises questions about whether, in the end, TransCanada will pursue this, although they do say that they remain hopeful that they'll get approval, and they're going to go back and look at it.
Fill us in on how the battle lines have been drawn on this. Who, broadly speaking, is for it? Who's against it? And where was the president on all of this?
It's interesting. So in terms of the proponents, you have an interesting mix of, say, business groups, oil companies, but also labor unions. There are 4 key labor unions, including plumbers and pipe fitters, operating engineers, and so forth, who would benefit from jobs that would be created either by supplying the materials for the pipeline or for constructing and operating it. And on the other side, and you also have the Canadian government, which has been lobbying aggressively to get this passed. On the other side, you have environmentalists, as well as an eclectic mix of folks along the route of the pipeline, which included ranchers and farmers in Nebraska and elsewhere, as well as some Tea Party activists and other conservatives who didn't like the idea that TransCanada might say that their land had to be used for this pipeline. So it divided the president's base, and he had been largely silent about this until just recently, where he did a public interview with an Omaha, Nebraska TV station. And it's at that point that he really said that he would be involved in this decision, even though it would be done by the State Department, and that he wanted to weigh these public health and environmental considerations against what he called a few thousand jobs that would be created by the project.
So how have these various groups that you've sketched out for us reacted to the announcement of the delay?
Well, unsurprisingly, what you've had is much enthusiasm from environmentalists and from folks in Nebraska and those along the route who had been opposing it, who see this as likely to be a death knell for the pipeline, even though we're not sure whether that's the case. On the other hand, you have some oil companies, including the head of the American Petroleum Institute, Jack Gerard, who have been scathing in their critique and essentially said this is a move that will undermine jobs. You've had Republicans make that point as well.
What about the Canadians? Have they had anything to say on this?
The Natural Resources Minister I've been trying to get in touch with folks, the Canadian ambassador is traveling, but the Natural Resources Minister said that he remains hopeful that this pipeline will be pursued, that they're not giving up, and that he argued that it would be undermining the United States in terms of both the energy security it could get by getting a supply of oil from a friendly ally, as well as the potential jobs. And so they're saying that they're still going to push for it.
The length of this delay, 13 to 15 months, that means it's either the early months of a new Obama administration or, in fact, the next president of the United States will make this decision, right?
Absolutely, and one of the critiques that some environmentalists have made is, we're celebrating this, but actually this ultimate decision could be made by a president who might not share our environmental values. So there's no question this pushes it past the 2012 election. And then the real question is, will Obama make the final decision about this controversial project, or will it be a Republican who would be in office in his stead?
After the project is redesigned, what's the presidential role? Are we still at the point where whoever is making the decision, whatever president is sitting in the Oval Office, will still be considering this possibility?
Well, it'll still be within the purview of the State Department. But yes, ultimately, the president can, first of all, at any point, the president has delegated this responsibility to the State Department. The president can take it back. And so at the end of the day, it will be the president, whether it's President Obama or the person who follows him, who will say yay or nay to this project.
Juliet Alperin of The Washington Post, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ray.